Oasis have written a lot of classics, but you know what? They've also covered a lot of killer songs over their career. What are the top 5 best songs covered by Oasis? Let's find out. Hey everybody, it's Nick here with you. Welcome back to the channel. So as usual, I've been doing a bunch of Oasis videos here on the channel lately. I did a top 10 worst Oasis songs video. I did a top 10 best Oasis songs video. Songs that they've written that have become classics. But obviously, like a lot of other bands, Oasis have covered a lot of songs over their career, covered a lot of songs by artists including The Who, David Bowie, Slade, and of course, the Beatles. And I really love all the Oasis covers, and it got me thinking, what are the best songs that have been covered by Oasis? And I've narrowed it down to my top 5 choices, so let's do this. First, I want to say there's an honorable mention for a song that wasn't officially released or recorded by Oasis, but it's Noel Gallagher's version that he did with Burt Bacharach live and back in 1995, I believe, of the Burt Bacharach song called This Guy's in Love with You. This is one of my favorite Oasis covers. It's not really an Oasis cover, it's just Noel covering it with Burt Bacharach at a live show in 1995, but it's just a heartbreakingly beautiful cover. Noel Gallagher's voice is so beautiful on that song. He really knows how to break our hearts. He still does on a lot of his solo material, but I wanted to give a special shout out to that song because that is one of my favorite Oasis covers that they've released over the years. Noel Gallagher doing Burt Bacharach's This Guy's in Love with You. Coming in at number 5 of my top 5 songs covered by Oasis, we have their cover of the Who classic, My Generation. Similar to other Oasis covers that they've done over the years, like Come On, Feel the Noise, this song feels like it was tailor-made for Oasis to cover. And I do believe that the version that we got on the Little by Little and She Is Love dual single was recorded at the Late Show with Jules Holland. I could be wrong. You guys can let me know in the comments. But this was a big song in the band's set list during the Standing on the Shoulder of Giants era. They often ended their set list with it, and it finally got released when they put it on that Little by Little single. One of the things I love about this particular cover is that Liam's voice cracks a little bit on, I think when he's saying people try to put us down, his voice cracks a little bit on that song, and I've always found that it gives that particular recording a lot of character. And it's also one of those songs that the band could have only covered after the initial lineup left before Standing on the Shoulder of Giants. There's a pretty crazy bass line on My Generation. I'm not saying that Guigsy was a bad bass player because he was a great bass player, but Andy Bell was considerably better to do that kind of thing. So it was one of those songs that could only have been covered in the post-2000s Oasis era. And I think it was an exciting cover to do at a time when the band was turning the page. They had just released Standing on the Shoulder of Giants. They had a new lineup in place, and this was a great cover for them to do. It's a great rock and roll cover, and it comes in at number 5 on my top 5 covers that Oasis did during their career. Coming in at number 4, we have their cover of the Beatles classic, Helter Skelter. Of course, we know the Beatles' influence on Oasis. They've done a lot of other Beatles covers, which a couple of them I will cover in this particular video. But the cool thing about when they did Beatles covers is that they covered the heavier side of the Beatles and the poppier side of the Beatles at the same time. The only thing is that this is a song that you would think that would be tailor-made for Liam to sing because it has that harder edge, but we have Noel singing it on the studio version, and I think that he handles it beautifully. It's a little less ferocious than the Beatles version and more just kind of stone cold cool and a little bit more psychedelic. I think I prefer the Beatles version in general overall, but I think Oasis do a really good job with this song. Helter Skelter can sometimes feel like a cliche Beatles song to cover. I know bands that I've played it in the past. We've played Helter Skelter as a cover song. It's one of those great, I guess, bar Beatles songs that you can cover, but I think that Oasis do it better than most. Coming in at number 3 on my top 5 songs covered by Oasis, we have their cover of the Slade classic, Come On, Feel the Noise. Aside from the Beatles, I feel like Slade is the band that Oasis have covered the most. They did this one from the Don't Look Back in Anger single back in 1996, and then they covered their song Merry Christmas Everybody, which is their only Christmas song that Oasis have ever done. And it's a great song for Oasis to cover. It's a great rock and roll song. It's got that pure rock and roll attitude, and I think in general it's way better than the Twisted Sister cover of Come On, Feel the Noise. Oasis had a lot of great covers that they did in the first half of their career during the Definitely Maybe, Morning Glory, and Be Here Now days, and I think that Come On, Feel the Noise is definitely one of the strongest covers that they did during those early days. It's just a great rock and roll tune. I love the outro on this song too, where the band and their friends are just goofing around. You know, we'll get wild, wild, wild. I love that part of the song. I really love that. I remember when I bought the Don't Look Back in Anger single in the Benson and Hedges box set back in the 90s. I loved that cover when I first heard it, and I just love to hear some good old-fashioned English banter here at the end of this track. Coming in at number 2 on my top 5 songs covered by Oasis, we have their cover of the David Bowie classic, Heroes. When this song came out as a B-side on one of my favorite Oasis singles, Do You Know What I Mean, back in 1997, I immediately became a fan of this track, and I actually heard it before the David Bowie original. I had heard a lot of David Bowie songs in my life up until that point, but Heroes definitely wasn't one of them. And David Bowie's classic version of Heroes is more soft-spoken, it's more spoken word. Noel's version is really bombastic and melodic with really soaring vocals. I've always loved Noel's vocals on his cover of Heroes. And this actually made me mad at the time because the Wallflowers, Jacob Dylan and the Wallflowers, who were a pretty popular band in the late 90s, around the time that Be Here Now and Oasis recorded their version of Heroes, their version of this song got more attention because it was on the Godzilla soundtrack from 1998. There was a music video for it, and they got more attention for having their cover of Heroes when I thought that the Oasis version was far better, and that was something that always really bothered me at the time. I know it's not really heralded and as well known as a lot of other songs that Oasis have covered throughout their career, but for me, it's one of my favorites, and I love singing along with Noel on this track. And coming in at number 1 on my top 5 songs covered by Oasis, of course, we have their cover of the Beatles classic, I Am The Walrus. Oasis, of course, have been compared to and associated with the Beatles for the majority of their career. That's never really been a comparison that I've always thought was really correct, but of course, they've always covered a lot of Beatles classics. I've always felt that Oasis were beyond the Beatles comparisons, but of course, there is that correlation going on there. And Oasis have never shied away from that. They've always acknowledged their influence from the Fab Four, and they've done so musically as well with their covers of various Beatles songs, including this cover of the John Lennon classic from Magical Mystery Tour. And obviously, I'm a huge Beatles fan. I got some Beatles memorabilia up on the wall here. I'm a huge Beatles fan. I love the original version of I Am The Walrus, but of course, I love the Oasis version as well when they add in that signature Oasis heaviness and those signature guitars. It sounds great. And of course, the main version of I Am The Walrus that we've primarily heard over the years is the live version from Cigarettes and Alcohol, the single that came out in 1994, with the classic Liam line in there. It don't matter if it's out of tune, because you're cool. I won't even try to do a bad English accent on that one because I will just butcher it. We'll let Liam do it. And I do believe the band did record a studio version of this at Sawmill Studios in 1994 that has never been properly released. Everybody can let me know in the comments. I'm sure you guys will correct me on that one. But there's always been a little bit of controversy about what the song actually says on the Cigarettes and Alcohol single, because the single says it was recorded at the Glasgow Cat House, but then I heard that it was actually from a sound check at another gig where the band was really drunk. Again, you guys can correct me in the comments, but there's a little bit of controversy about where the exact source of the live version of I'm the Walrus comes from. And of course, their version of I'm the Walrus is so good. It is so good that they finished their set list with it for a very long time. And I think Liam Gallagher's ending his Definitely Maybe tour, the 30th anniversary tour, with this track as well. I think Oasis have a lot of great Beatles covers. I just mentioned like Helter Skelter and songs like that. You've got To Hide Your Love Away, but I think this is their best Beatles cover overall. And that is it, guys. That is my list of the top 5 songs covered by Oasis. I know I missed a bunch. They have a lot of great covers. They have their cover of Street Fighting Man by the Rolling Stones. They got You Gotta Hide Your Love Away, their Hey Hey My My Neil Young cover. There's a lot of great ones in there. I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments below what your favorite songs covered by Oasis are. If you like this video, make sure to toss me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. If you like what I'm doing here on the channel, you like to rock out with me, make sure to smash that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos, and follow me online on social media across social platforms at Nick Chino Music. But I'll see you guys again for another video here, another Oasis video here on the channel. But until then, rock on, everybody.